All right, good morning, everybody. Good
Good morning.
morning, good morning. Okay, so we were talking, don't forget that every Tuesday from 8 to 8:30, I am in the Zoom room. Happy to help in any way. So whatever questions you have about whatever you want to talk about, it's an open forum. Candace will do the same thing every Thursday morning from 8 to 8:30, okay? Okay, so let me just kind of give you a little bit of a summary from what our talk was this morning, and then we'll move into the pre-listing stuff, okay? Um, so we were talking basically about what might happen in the market for sellers, what might happen in the market for buyers in the future, right? How do we feel about and I've struggled with this personally too, is, hey, if I think it's a seller's market and all the evidence supports the fact that it's a seller's market, how do I feel about like helping buyers right now? Like, am I doing them, like, am I doing the right thing? Right? Am I like basically saying, oh my gosh, it's great to be a seller, but oh, it's great to be a buyer too, right? And then a buyer sits there and buys at the height of the market. Are they like getting a fair shake, so to speak, right? So what we kind of concluded, or I don't know if you'll ever conclude this, but what we kind of seem to agree to is that it's all based on motivation, right? So if you're just kind of interested in participating in this real estate market right now, you're probably not going to be all that successful, right? If you are dead serious about making a move because there's something in your world that is driving that desire, maybe the house is in the wrong area, the house is the wrong size, it's in the wrong school district, somebody got divorced, somebody died, somebody was born, whatever it is, if there is a super strong desire to live in a different home, you will be more likely to put yourself through the stress of a real estate transaction right now. Greta and I were talking about was this idea of if you sit down with a buyer and say, hey, let me explain to you real fast what it's like to be a buyer. Okay, you're going to tell me exactly what you want. I'm going to take you right to it. Okay, and then there's going to be 50 offers on it. Now here's a list of the 10 different things I've done in the last 2 months to help buyers obtain the home in multiple offer situations. Would you be willing to do any of the following? Boom, ba boom, ba boom, ba boom, ba boom. And the buyer says, ain't no chance I'm doing any of that. Well, I got to tell you, you're probably not going to be all that successful being a buyer right now. So the people that are successful being a buyer have an incredibly strong desire to purchase. And the people that are being successful being a seller right now they're so desirous of selling that they're willing to take the chance they may not buy the right thing. I mean, let me give you an example. Greta, this is kind of geared towards you a little bit, but what if, like, let's say that this home was the home that I personally live in was just the wrong home for us. Okay. And I want to sell. Like, yes, I've got complications with where I'm going to move and all that, but honestly, I kind of have to do one thing at a time. Like, it could be the fact where you sell and go move into an apartment for a year. Like, you can think of it like longer term, right? So yes, it's very difficult. I mean, it used to be very difficult. Now it's nearly impossible to sell and buy simultaneously. That's why you have people like Knock and all these other people coming into the market to help, because it's so challenging. You see what I'm saying? So the key to it all is we've got to figure out what is the motivation behind their desire to move. If they're like, well, I'm not buying a house unless the seller buys me a home warranty. Well, goodness gracious, that ain't gonna happen. You see what I'm saying? Now, I happen to be working with a buddy of mine now, and he got wind of a home off market. Okay, and they're willing to deal with us before it goes on the market. I don't know why. It doesn't make a bit of sense, to be honest with you. But I'm not the listing agent, I'm the buyer's agent. Okay, you follow what I'm saying? There is virtually no reason a seller should sell off market right now, in my personal opinion. Okay, but if I got an opportunity to help a buyer buy off market, I'm doing it. You see what I'm saying? Greta, does that, if a sell, let me kind of wrap that idea up again. So you could look a seller in the face and say, hey, if this is let's say somebody's getting divorced and the man's trying to find a property and the woman's trying to find a property, and I mean, just make it even more difficult. Like, we got to do step one first. We got to sell. If we got to sell, we got to sell, and we'll deal with where we move afterwards. You see what I'm saying? Like, we're so used to this idea of, oh, we'll sell and then we'll move into the perfect home and we only have to move once and everything will be perfect. It's not that type of environment right now. So the only people that are going to participate in this type of environment are the ones that absolutely have to, right? It is not our job. Yes, we are the economist of choice, but it's not our job to do a bunch of speculation like, oh, it's the height of the market, I don't think I'd buy now. You should buy if your family needs to buy, right? But you have to ask yourself, do you need to buy or could you rent? You see what I'm saying? These are decisions that you help coach the person through, then they ultimately decide. Does that make sense?
It does, just from a prospecting type or farming type situation. I guess I'm just trying to figure out how to honestly and transparently deal with people who are on the fence. They're like, I know I'm going to want to sell, but I don't know.
That is basically what you have to do is you have to ask more questions, right? Okay. You have to say, walk me through what would cause, like, how do I want to answer that? Like, hey, what made it pop into your mind?
My knocking on their door.
Okay, and what happened next? Like, you knocked on the door, they said, oh, I might sell, and then what did you say?
I got, maybe not quite now, but I'm getting older and I don't think the kids want the house kind of deal. And I said that now is, something to consider, that now in this seller's market, you would be able to, reap the biggest benefit or the biggest gain, that prices are up 16.5% over last year, and that it may not be this good in the future. And
so I would ask a lot more questions before I started throwing out stats like that.
Okay.
Right. Where would you go? Right.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we already have a cabin in the mountains. Oh, great. We don't even have to talk about buying now. So then it's a whole different attack, right? Because you're not talking about having to sell and then buy and moving twice and all these kind of things. It's a nice, simple transition. All they have to do is pick the perfect time to sell.
But that's like the exception to the rule. Most people don't have a second home, right? They have to have somewhere to go.
Yeah, but we got to find out what the answer is, and then we can give them some consultation, right? Because
so what if they say they don't have anywhere to go? They don't know what they're going to do.
Well, let's talk through what this process would look like if we sold now, right? What is the specific motivation you have to sell today, as opposed to in 2 years when the market could look a little different and there might be more options to choose from? Well, I don't really have a strong motivation to put myself through all of this right now. Okay, well, then you're not going to be a good seller at the moment, right? We should be farming for database ads, right? As opposed to like trying to push motivation on somebody that may not be motivated.
Hey, Bill, can I offer a suggestion?
Yeah, please.
When you get to the point where you're talking about the stats, I would put a number to it. I would say, well, would you rather make 40 grand more on your house by selling it today or wait 2 years? And then as far as buying, I usually try to get them to tell me what they're interested in buying and then have them visualize it. show them some properties that fit that criteria, get them seeing themselves in that property and loving it. And then that's even more of a motivation to sell.
That's a great point. So for example, if they say, hey, I'm going to sell this $700,000 house and move to a different part of the city that I'm relatively unfamiliar with and buy a $450,000 house, say, great. Okay, here's a $450,000 house in Decatur. What do you think? And they walk in, they're like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I was hoping for. Okay, so now we know the plan has some legs. Then we can go back to the sales side and say, okay, this could potentially work. Here's how it would work. Do you like what you're hearing? Or you send them a list of what is available in the price range in the area that they want to be in. And they're like, this isn't what I want. Say, well, okay. Well, is there any other parts of the city that I can teach you about that you might be interested in? Because in order for you to make this decision, you're going to have a great point, Liz. You're going to have to kind of imagine yourself following the entire process, right? Let's not sell before we kind of know what it would be like to buy. Okay. But I'll tell you, if somebody is not, if they're not motivated to sell, we got to go find the motivated, right? I mean, give them the time, ask the questions, build a relationship. But if they're not motivated, you can't make them motivated unless you show them that they could sell it for more or what they could buy, or like bring out some pain in their world that they haven't shared with you yet, right? There's certain kind of facts of life, so to speak, that cause people to not all be concerned about the numbers at all, right? I had a situation where an old buddy of mine, he had a like a 1.5-year-old son, went down for a nap, never woke up. Okay. Happened upstairs in their house. They never went upstairs again, sold the house to Knock. This is before Knock has the business model they have now, because they didn't want to even walk upstairs to fix up the home. They wanted out. They didn't care about the money at all. Okay. So there's certain situations that cause people to not over-examine, am I paying 303 or 303.5 or 304.5? You see what I'm saying? They just want to move because their life is requiring them to move. Right? The more we get in the weeds with all the fine details, the more we freak our clients out. Does that make sense? Any other thoughts, comments? Candace, you want to chime in?
No, I agree. I think sometimes, I think the most important thing is just asking the questions and not presupposing or presuming
You're
what you would do.
breaking
I
up
think
pretty
that's the
bad.
biggest.
In 1/4 mile, turn right along
Candace, can you say that again? You were breaking up pretty bad.
I said, I think it's really important that we never presuppose that it's about us or presume what their motivation is. It's our job to really be detectives and then help guide them to the best solution. So the questions are just so important.
That's right. And, you know, to some degree, it's kind of like, I think this came up a week or so ago, like, you know, let's say I help a buyer buy in Kennesaw. How do I feel about helping a buyer buy in Kennesaw when I have no interest in living in Kennesaw? I mean, it's kind of a similar idea, right? Like literally, I know this sounds nuts, but when my wife like leaves the perimeter, like her head starts hurting. Like she's not coming anywhere near Kennesaw. Do you see what I'm saying? But does that mean there's anything wrong with Kennesaw? No. There's jobs up there, there's community up there, there's grocery stores up there. If somebody wants to live in Kennesaw, it's not my job to tell them that's a bad place. It's my job to make sure they finance their home in Kennesaw as wisely as possible and that they're incredibly educated, protected buyers wherever they want to buy. Does that make sense? Any thoughts or comments on that? All right, let's do a tiny little motivation video. Oops, hang on, let me share my screen with you.
Tell you something. that every successful person has to do, including you. Believe it or not, every successful person in this world has jumped. I'm going to tell you what I mean by that. Eventually, you are going to have to jump. You cannot just exist in this life. You have got to try to live. If you're waking up thinking that there's got to be more to your life than it is, man, believe that it is. Believe in your heart of hearts that it is. But to get to that life, you're going to have to jump. I'll tell you why I call it jumping. When you see people in life, when you're standing on the cliff of life, and you see people soaring by, and you see people soaring, going to exotic places, you hear about them doing wonderful things. Maybe you look up the street and your neighbor just gets a car every year and every 2 years. Well, how is he doing it? Have you ever thought, maybe this person right here has identified their gift and is living in their gift? You just got to quit looking at gifts as running, jumping, sing, and dance. It's more than that. It's if you know how to network, you can connect dots, you draw, you teach. Some of y'all fry chicken better than anybody else, bake pie. Some of you cut hair, color hair. Your gift, not your education. You go get an education, that's not. But if you don't use your gift, that education only gonna take you so far. I know a lot of people got degrees, man. They ain't even using it. It's your gift. But the only way for you to soar is you got to jump. You got to take that gift that's packed away on your back. You got to jump off that cliff and pull that cord. That gift opens up and provides the soar. If you don't ever use it, you're going to just go to work. And if you're getting up going to work on a job every day that you hate going to, that ain't living, man. You just existed. At one point in time, you ought to see what living is like. But the only way to see what living like, you got to jump. And here's the problem. Let's just be real. When you first jump, let me tell you something. The parachute will not open right away. When you jump, it's not going to open right away. You're going to hit them rocks. You're going to get some skin tore off on the cliffs. You're going to get all your clothes tore off. You're going to get some cuts on you. You're going to be bleeding pretty bad. But eventually, the parachute has to open. That ain't a theory, that's a promise. Here's another thing. You can play it safe and deal without the cuts and the tears. You can stand on that cliff of life forever. If you don't jump, I got another promise. Your parachute will never open. You'll never know. If I were you, I would jump. Because that's the only way to get to that abundant life. You got to jump, man. You got to take a chance. Now, when I get through talking, there are those of you who have discussed this in the car. Well, I got bills. Whether you stay on the cliff or you jump, you're going to have bills. Well, if I quit my job, I'm going to ruin my credit. If you got a job, you live in check to check. Even if you got A1 credit, you can't buy nothing else no damn way. At one point in time, man, do yourself a favor. Before you leave this world, before you die, jump. Just jump one time. Just jump. Thank you very much.
That might be my favorite one so far. All right, who has a thought
Yeah,
on
that was amazing. I
love
need that.
Steve Harvey. He's awesome.
Yeah.
Tell me more. What did you hear that moved you there? I'll put that in the announcements page so you can watch it again as much as you want. Chantrell, what did you hear? What got you at that moment?
If you don't jump, you just exist. And I just felt that because I wake up every morning to a job that I hate. So I just exist right now. Oh my God, that video was amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And John, do you want to share that thought? Where's John? Are you in a place you can talk, John? This completely resonates with my career and life transformation last year and what I'm trying to pass on to others. Love that. Who else has a thought?
For me, it's like you never know what you can accomplish, like what you can achieve if you don't try, if you don't take a chance, if you don't jump. We all have gifts and we just need to take a risk because we'll never know where that could lead.
Right. I mean, we're taking a calculated risk, by the way, right? We're selling real estate. I mean, real estate ain't going anywhere, right? We're in a pretty safe gig here, right? We're not doing anything crazy or crazy risky. We're just helping people buy and sell the thing that 75% of our country's wealth is tied up in, right? It's a pretty good bet.
Right.
But just a quick shout out to Candace for locating this video and the others. I appreciate that. John, are you in a place you can share a little bit more about?
Yeah, that was fantastic. And yeah, I mean, obviously we've spoke, Bill, about my transformation like last year that brought me here, a midlife career change. And you got to jump. And that's been my message to mostly on LinkedIn, but on Facebook, anybody that I can speak to about it the last year and a half, you've got to jump. You've got to step out of your comfort zone. Life's too short. For me personally, I've always regretted things that I had the chance to do and I didn't do much more than things that I did that just didn't quite work out. You always regret things that you didn't do when you had the chance to. So yeah, this really hits hard to me. This really resonates.
Beautiful, beautiful.
I thought of it in another way. I was thinking about, and my speaker's down too low.
I can hear you good now.
Yeah, hang on. I thought about it in another way. I was thinking not only in the ways that you all are talking about, but I was thinking about how each of us can bring our unique gifts to how we approach real estate. For instance, somebody might be really excellent with numbers and that's your passion. So you can be the expert on the stats. Somebody else can be like I'm kind of a motherly person, so I bring that to the table. Somebody else could bring their great sense of humor and making it really, really fun. It just depends on what it is that you have in your personality and the gifts that you've been given that you can bring to make it unique for the people that you work with.
Right, like I've spoken lately to a number of people who are really into like the architecture and the design. Like, you know, they could see a kind of a bland space and make it, you know, awesome, right? They can see how if you knock down this wall and put a wall there and blah, 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 could be a whole different property, right? Are you sharing your gift with those that you're in working with or in courtship with? And
Bill, it's in a weird way, well, for me personally, I don't know, I feel almost obligated like to share my gifts. If you have an incredible gift for a certain thing and you're sitting in a cubicle 9 to 5 and you're just not like using that gift, you're not helping the world. You're not bettering anybody around you. I feel almost obligated to like use the gifts that I've been given, that I've been blessed to have, to help others.
Man, I almost don't want to start talking about something else because that's so powerful. I appreciate everyone sharing. Thank you. We'll keep showing these videos because, you know, sometimes it's like one phrase in one video when you're in a place ready to receive it, that could change everything. I mean, like, Chantrell's gonna be pretty tired after today because of how much her mind is racing, right? Like, take a nap. You're gonna be tired today. Your brain's gonna be racing all day long. All right, let's talk about the pre-listing package. Okay, I want to clarify one idea, which I don't believe Keller Williams does a very good job of kind of organizing, in my opinion, which is they call it a listing presentation, but when you have a pre-listing package, it gets fuzzy. So let me explain to you what I mean by everything, or what I think is the appropriate way to think about these two things kind of merged. One is a pre-listing package, which I'm going to show you in just a second. Okay, that is something that you would send to the seller prior to your meeting. And you would ask the seller to review it. Okay, and that'll have we'll go through the contents here in just a second, but it will help them understand who you are, what you do, some of your metrics, testimonials, your history, that kind of stuff, your marketing plan, whatnot. Then when you get to the appointment itself, it's all about them. If you don't use a pre-listing package, they don't know a whole lot about you. And in the limited amount of time that you have with them, you're trying to like tell them all these wonderful things about you. And you forget that the whole appointment's about them in the first place. So this sets it up really nicely where you can kind of give your commercial, so to speak, ahead of time. And then when you're sitting in front of them, when it's a whole kind of different energy, it's simply let's review the questions that I asked you on the phone the other day, right? The pre-qualification questions, right? Where are you moving to? Why do you have to be there? Are you interviewing other agents? What's the number you won't sell below? What happens if the home doesn't sell? All those kind of questions, right? And you're digging into the data, the comparables. You're teaching them a little bit about the marketplace. You're handling any objections, and you're moving on. And that allows you to have a 30, 45-minute appointment rather than a 2-hour appointment. Is there anyone that would prefer to go on 2-hour appointments when you could get it done better, really, in 30 to 45 minutes? Anybody? I didn't think so. Okay. So you could even use something like this for buyers too. Hey, before we meet tomorrow afternoon, I've got a packet of information that just helps you understand, what our team is all about or what our organization is all about. Take you about 30 seconds to review. Can I send that to you? Nobody else is doing that. Okay. Make sense? Plus, let me share this document with you guys, or share my screen. The document is something called the listing proposal. This is just an example. Okay. I will post it in the WhatsApp now as well. First of all, I want to make sure you guys understand something very clearly. The public does not know what's supposed to be in the listing proposal or the pre-listing package. Just like the public doesn't know every question to ask and in what order. It's your script, right? So if you forget to ask a question or you do something slightly out of order, they don't know. Just keep going. Make sense? So here, okay, so I just posted it in the WhatsApp group. Here is a listing proposal from a woman named Vishay Cavalier, I think is her last name. Vishay Cavalier, I think is the way you pronounce her last name. Okay, I believe she's out of Orlando, okay, or somewhere in Middle Florida. So your guide to selling your home, okay, some contact information. I mean, you get this and you're like, whoa, this woman's pretty buttoned up, don't you think? Right? This is, I would say that when I look at this, well, let's ask you guys, when you look at this, what do you think? Do you think luxury? Do you think professional? Do you think, she used some template? Like, it looks like she spent a little bit of extra time or money on this, right?
Right.
Does that give you a different impression of working with this particular person? Okay. Meet the team. Again, it doesn't have to be exactly the same, right? But meet the team could be, here are my partners. I have a lender partner. I have a team leader. I have an assistant team leader. I got a productivity coach. I got multiple productivity coaches, right? These are the people who are pouring into me and helping me help you, right? Delivering 10+ experience, right? On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not so desirable, 10 being extremely desirable. What's the one thing that has to happen in our partnership for your experience to be a 10, right? You're going to ask that question when you're there. So you're prompting them to start to think about it now. Remember what's important to you about that. If we could add just one more thing to make it a 10+, what would that be? And if we could add one more thing, what would that be? What's important to you about that? I mean, literally the listing appointment can be those 3 questions right there. As long as they see enough prior to believe that you're good, right? How does somebody win or lose with you, right? What do you feel you have a right to expect from me as your real estate agent? And what do I have a right to expect from you as a client? Have you ever thought of asking those questions? Right, here's a little bio, right? She's a top producer. She's got an expansion team, and oh, actually, I'm sorry, she's in Houston. For some reason I thought she was in Florida. And she has an expansion team in New Orleans. Okay, so a little bit of information about her, some of her, past accomplishments or whatever. What you get. Wouldn't it be nice to know what you're going to get? Communication, experience, expertise, marketing, pricing knowledge, satisfaction, etc. Little blurb about Keller Williams. Okay, little basic marketing plan. Professional photography. I know most of us are using professional photography. Let me rephrase that. If you are not using professional photography, you need to use professional photography. There are no exceptions. Was that confusing in any way? Okay. Even if most other agents are using it, if you highlight it, they think you're the one doing it. And they question whether their other person that they're chatting with is going to make that expense. Make sense? If you do staging, put a little thing in here, right? You do like an hour of free staging consultation and you spend, $100 on it or whatever, and bring another person in that validates your work, that comes in and says, hey, you got to get rid of that picture. Hey, you got to move that couch. Hey, you got to get rid of all these dressers, whatever it is, so that the home looks better. Do you do that? Do you pay for it or a portion of it? Put it in here, right? Do you do just listed, just solds? Do you call around the neighborhood to look for buyers? Put it in there. Hey, what I do in week number 1 of you being on the market is I contact 1,500 of your neighbors to let them know the home's available. I schedule and host an open house, blah, 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 blah. You can let them know what you do, right? Open houses, real nice photography and pictures, nice, clean, not too cluttered, right? Preparing the home for sale, for showings. What happens when you have an accepted offer? Give them a little understanding of what's coming up next. Closing 101, right? How do you attract the right buyers? Right? Pricing your home competitively will generate the most activity from agents and buyers. Pricing your home too high, make it necessary to drop the price below market value to compete with new, well-priced listings. You may not get any price objections because you put this in their face early. Does that make sense? Right? If we're 15% above the asking price, the percentage of potential buyers who will look at the property is at 10%. You follow what I'm saying? Now, I would send this ahead, by the way. If the appointment is very, very fast or very soon after, you could send it an email. But don't you think it'd be a nice touch if you had a bunch of these printed out and you printed out the one page that was independent for that one particular seller, made exclusively for Liz Kennedy at 123 Hill Street or something like that. And then you had a courier take it over to the house, or you dropped it off, or Uber dropped it off, or something like that. Do you think that'd make a nice touch? And you walk in with a little, what is Peggy, like a little candle or something, like a little $5 or $10 gift, right? You're separating yourself from the competition, right? Price misconceptions, right? The value of your home has nothing to do with what you paid for it. It also has nothing to do with what you need, what you want. Wouldn't it be nice to pay off all of our credit card debt by selling your home? No, that has nothing to do with it. Yes, it would be nice, but you can't price the home that way, right? What your neighbor says, what another agent says, the cost to rebuild it has nothing to do with that. Price ahead of the market. We have the similar slides like this at Chartmasters. You can, use that information. Pricing competitively in the first 30 days is critical, right? It's all about strategy. Don't you love to hear that the person working for you knows the word strategy, uses it, thinks about it, practices, researches, etc., right? What's next? Here's what you can expect from me next. Here's a little moving checklist. Personally, I think this is a little on the long side, but I think it's still very good information, right? Here's some testimonials of people that have worked with you before. If you're new to the real estate space, do you have any testimonials from any previous work? You know, if Michael's been in other work before, and you know, somebody said on LinkedIn, hey, Michael is really attentive, he listens really well, and he's always responsive, and he's great with building presentations or something. I don't know. Put it on here, right? If you were good in that, if you had a certain kind of work ethic and style in an old job, it's pretty applicable in this job too, right? That's it, nice and simple. And then you can add, if you wanted to add a picture, you see how this has nothing to do with the client, right? She could cut and paste this and send it to any prospect. If you wanted it to be a slight bit more unique, you could have a page here that said like, you know, a picture of the front of their house and, you know, built exclusively for, you know, Liz Kennedy at 123 Spring Street or whatever, right? This is written in a way where she could just send it off to anybody. She probably has 100 of them stacked in her office. She comes to her office every day and she sees 100 stacked up pre-listing packages, and she's like, what in the world are they doing here? They need to be out in somebody's hands. Do you see what I'm saying? So this allows us to focus on them, right, during the appointment. It's all the questions about, did you have any clarifying questions from the material I sent to you earlier, right? How do I win with you? How do I lose with you? What's important? Why is it important? What happens when you get it, right? Here's some data of the homes that are on the market and sold and active and all that stuff. Where do you think we should be? Okay, here, sign. See what I'm saying? You're in and out in 30 minutes.
Who's first?
Does that make sense? Any thoughts, questions on that? Thoughts or questions? Okay, if you're building a pre-listing package and you would like another set of eyes on it, I would be more than happy to do it. I'm a little anal, but I'll just tell you what I think. Okay, and I'll tell you politely, promise. Okay. Do not forget that there is a new agent mixer today. That's from, is it what, 1 to 2:30, I think? Is that right? Does everyone know what time it is? Anybody?
Is it on Zoom or where's?
That's through the office. Hang on a second. I think I posted it on the announcements page the other day. Hang on one moment. New agent mixer is today from 2 to 3:30, and that is on the KW Roswell training page. Okay, and obviously we have our team meeting today. Lots of stuff going on in the market, guys. Tune in. If you today or last night, I should say, was the final day of the second week in March. So if you could please take a moment and update your numbers, that would be fabulous. And I'll see you soon. Take care.
Thanks, Bill.
Mhm.